There you go. Oh, you can hit pause if you want.
What, on the recording?
Yeah, it's the two lines. It should be split into two buttons.
What got you in? Because I didn't know what to hit to get you into the meeting.
There might not be a waiting room. So then I just join and then it lets you in.
Okay. Okay, we'll wait for Marty, because the first thing we have to do is approve the minutes.
You want to do the, just say the date and the time for the recording.
Oh yeah, today. It's January 11th, 2021.
22. There you go.
Hi, Dusty.
Hello.
Hi. I'm not sure if Dennis didn't tell me whether he's coming or not. I've been back and forth with him on getting the right budget materials for this. And you know, I know you haven't seen this. You know, it's been a slog trying to put it all together a bit, trying to get all the information. So we can walk you through it if you haven't had time to look at it this morning. And I actually did send an update on, Evan just gave me the ones that, I don't know if you did look at it, I had a couple of holes in it. And the new version on your computer is the one that he filled in. So I don't know if you looked at it or not.
Me?
Yeah, Dusty.
No, I just now saw it.
What?
I just now saw it. I actually didn't even know we had a meeting this morning.
You didn't? Oh, I let you know last week.
I've got
but I didn't hear from anybody. I should have followed up, you know, more quickly, because I flagged it. I had to get it into the town office, and I was asking you guys, you know, is that okay for Tuesday? Because I wanted plenty of time I wanted an extra 2 days to go through this. Once we had a meeting, if there were issues, so that it could be submitted on Thursday. That's the deadline. But the thing is that we're thinking this is not going to be for town funding. It will be ARPA funding. It won't go through the normal budget process. So maybe it doesn't even have to be ready by the 13th, because we're not asking for money.
Well, this is just a backup. This is just a backup.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea to just go over it, and that way it's recorded.
Okay.
Also,
So first we have to approve the minutes of December 30th. That was the meeting Dusty couldn't be at. I did circulate those and it was just the three of us. So do you want to make a motion to approve them, one of you?
I
I
move
make-
we approve. Seconded.
Okay. All in favor, are the two of you? Okay, good.
Yep, in
And-
favor.
And that, I kind of don't like, I know it has to go through that to make sure they're correct, but the minutes actually are, keeps people up to date online. If I could send them out before they're approved at the next meeting, because it's background to this meeting. But anyway, that's the way they want it done. So, I mean, that's the way it's usually done, but we don't have a lot of time in between right now. So what we did on this, Dusty, was combine the things we've been talking about for the last few months on the budget. And also we've had a chance to talk with Krista Thorpe more extensively at the Island Institute, as well as what they did in Southport, leveraging at Island Institute money. So we thought at the last meeting, we should try to go for 7,500 from the town in ARPA funds. That would match in cash another 7,500 from Island Institute. And that's reflected in this budget. And there's also some in kind that we did not put in there yet, but we would put in there for when we apply to Island Institute in terms of our time and Evan's time doing some of the work to identify gaps for service. We had a meeting with Mark, or we talked with, Mark was on our call at, yeah, that's right. We sent him some stuff and he got back to us with what he would do to update our plan of what we had before and add to it. So we can go through this. We can go through the budget one by one to just see if you have questions. It doesn't look like Dennis is on the call. Will be on the call this morning, or maybe he's late. He just didn't let me know. But after I get off with you guys, I'll definitely make time to talk with Dennis and make sure that I've got it right and what else he needs for detail in the budget. So I'll just flag one thing. A couple of our line items would possibly, well, we'll get to it. You know, there's a requirement that anything over $2,500 that has to, that we're getting services for needs to go out to bid. So I think that would include one of the line items that we had down for Evan to be paid would go over $2,500. And it would definitely go over that for Mark, but we can get to that, you know, when we get to the budget item. So do you want to just go through it? What would be most helpful to you? Because these guys commented yesterday, and I think we just go through line by line, if that's okay.
Yeah, just walk through it.
Okay. So the first thing is updating the 2019 broadband infrastructure plan that Mark did as part of the 7-town study for Lincoln County. And this, we need to do this both to update the premises that can't get current broadband services. This is a key piece. And also identify premises that have insufficient broadband. And I added the second one because we just got an announcement by Treasury Department for updated guidelines that I sent to everybody last week that gives more flexibility of what's considered baseline for broadband. They got a lot of comments that during the pandemic, people could not access or have reliable access to internet. And so they've upped the speeds for what they expect to be available in a community. And I don't know, probably the state hasn't had time to digest this yet in terms of what they want to do with the ARPA money, but this will give us more opportunity to be competitive for grants. because you know, so much of Wiscasset is already got some cable. It's got cable, but not necessarily adequate, reliable internet. So that has to be done. And the first piece of that is not a big piece. And Evan said he can do that just pro bono as part of you know, match contribution. The second piece, we've got to figure out how to do that. Part of it will be through the town survey that we tend to send out to people. And that will really focus on what their post-pandemic experience is with use of internet. So that's what we see as those two pieces. Comments from any of you or questions to make it more, if it's not clear enough? Okay. And this, actually, these were the goals. I'm jumping into the goals of what we have to do, because they asked for the goals in this, for the preamble to the budget. And I said the second thing we want to do is identify different structures and financing requirements for building out fiber networks. And then I have a list of things, partly that would be done by Axiom, that would be done by an Axiom study. The third goal was develop a digital equity and inclusion plan in collaboration with the National Digital Equity Center headquartered in Wiscasset. And that's the whole discussion we had with Susan Corbett. The cost of that when we get to the budget is $2,500. We hope to reduce it with participation by Woolwich and Dresden. And Evan can speak to that as we get to the budget items. And then the third one that we added with discussion at our last meeting was start a limited community education and outreach program before the plan is fully developed to help residents immediately access grant programs to pay for broadband and refer them to the National Digital Equity Center's online digital literacy programs. And we think this will help us educate the community. It's also a community education outreach, and get goodwill in the community as we're preparing this, and get people more familiar with both our work as a committee, what we want to do, and delivering something concrete that's appreciated. We know that Larry Rhines, who is a volunteer, he's a volunteer, right, Marty, at the Senior Center. He's very interested in that. He says the seniors in town really have a total lack of digital skills, and it will be very important to reach out to them. So this is something that we added. Evan is already doing this in Damascotta. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about it as a goal, Evan.
As far as we're talking about senior education?
Well, any education, but what your experience is in Damascotta doing this right now, not waiting for, you know.
I would say the biggest opportunity is just to give seniors and other people more info on what services are available to them right now. So they may be well familiar with services like YouTube TV, they might not know that they can try an antenna at their house to try and get basic channels if they're trying to reduce their bill and get away from a hefty cable bill. So a lot of cord cutting, education on what the other services are out there and that you can survive without a cable subscription, those types of things. And then similarly with helping people get set up for people that are low income for devices and for the programs. So just doing a lot of hands-on, one-on-one education work with folks to determine what they may be qualified for.
Questions or reaction? Maybe you need to see the whole thing. And then what I say at the end of that is this planning work is ultimately will enable the town to take advantage of the unprecedented opportunity we have right now. And the faster we're ready, the better off we are being in line for money, because it really will be. They've got guidelines that they have to follow, but it's going to be the groups that are ready that are going to get the money. And if necessary, if we're on the kind of margin and we're ready and other groups aren't, we will get, I'm pretty sure we will, it will be favorable, because they've got to get this money out within a, a fairly short period. So, you can look at these afterwards. As I said, we got 2 more days to get these finalized. So then we get into the nitty gritty of the budget on the next page, and I put it in their form that they want. And we started, actually it's the reverse of how I did it on the other paper on the goals, but we started with the contract with Susan Corbett at the National Digital Equity Center, which would be $2,500. And it would be more like $1,200, probably a little less, if we had 3 towns sharing the cost, because she only goes up by $500 a town. We talked about that before. And I think it's really important to work with her, because there's a lot of money in digital equity and we know it's needed, and she's on top of all of it. And we want to be able to access that for Wiscasset. And hopefully for the other towns as well. So we kept that in, even though that we're moving ahead on some digital equity work. We didn't put huge amounts in for Evan to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, and I wanted to add that I wouldn't anticipate myself ever billing the town for this work, but I feel like it's important to budget it, because going forward for infrastructure grants in the future and for the planning grant from the Island Institute, we want to be able to say that the town is committed X amount toward these activities, whether or not we ever actually draw money from them, because I would do most of this stuff on a volunteer basis unless it becomes really, really substantial. But for now, I think I can put it as a volunteer basis, but we should all obviously still budget for it, because that's super important to say that the town's committed to those activities.
So what we put in is the community education work. You would do what you've been doing in Damascata, which you just described.
Yep.
And I said, I think it helps with community education and hopefully support and outreach for what we're doing, both for getting people connected, but also for the infrastructure that we're going to have to go for. And we'll require a town commitment of money for that. The second was staff support. And again, it's preparation for grants. It's outreach to other professionals. It's all written here. And the affordability programs. It could be coordinating with nonprofits, municipalities, internet service providers. I mean, all this stuff takes a lot of time, and it's not just on Evan's shoulders. I mean, we will, at least I will, and Marty will help with some of this research and negotiation, but it's often a staff position that does this kind of thing. So that's in there for $2,500 budgeted, and it's $25 an hour, 100 hours, which is nothing. That stuff can get eaten up really quickly. The next thing is the broadband survey that we've talked about before, to update where we see the gaps and needs. And this has become even more important how we design this survey, given the new ARPA regulations and the ability to determine who is underserved during the pandemic, where the quality just isn't there and the reliability. And I'm going to look at other survey instruments and other experience, but I think that's really the focus of what we want out of that survey, to make a case we do not have adequate broadband in Wiscasset for the needs, both currently in the pandemic and going forward. So questions about that, or we're good? Okay.
Good.
Updated broadband infrastructure study. Axiom did our study in 2019. The costs are out of date. So we would ask them to update it, the costs, and we got other things that they would do that they've also done for other towns, to have a document that helps guide us, but probably even more important, we can put on the website as a go-to for information about what we intend to do and what kind of grants, why we're asking for grants or going for money, and what the studies have been on this. And so it would go on our website, just, as other towns have done. It's a community education tool, and all the information is in one place. That is budgeted. That's partly what, would go up to $7,500. And which actually isn't outrageous for, that kind of scope. And I just put down some of the things that he would do. He would definitely look at ownership models. He would do a pro forma of a revenue and expense projections over 5 years. He would do, and I think one thing I may have left out of here is he would also do bond, if we ended up bonding, what those comparisons are. I left this out of here, but he would also do that as part of the 7,500, just to give us an idea of costs, if indeed the town had to bond either as a contribution for private to be able to leverage outside grants, or for a municipal system that the town owned. And so that's what that budget item is about. And that adds up to $15,000. 7,500 would come from the town's ARPA money, assuming that it's not all spent, but we don't know what that would be. And 7,500 from the Island Institute. And Evan, you had a chat with Krista and Kendra Joe, or with Krista, and she seemed that this was in line with what they would be looking for.
Yeah, I'll pull up her email just to double check what she said.
And I'm gonna add the bond comparison in there, because that's important too.
She said, at a glance, they look right on track. I'll be meeting with Kendra Joe about grants forecasting tomorrow, which is today, and can circle back if we have any questions.
Okay, and they can move that money pretty quickly if they decide. I mean, they need to get the money out as well. It's in their interest to find good recipients for the money. So we're pretty confident we can leverage that money. So questions, or, it does put the budget more than what we had said before, but most of that, all of that would be coming from the island. The extra would be coming from the Island Institute.
This is more than we said before?
Well, I think at some point I said $10,000 cap, of what the project would be. But in fact, the costs of doing the update with Axiom is more than that. And Island Institute would cover that.
Yeah, so like.
And hopefully if we have, sorry, go ahead.
Higher match, so.
I'm sorry, what?
By increasing the budget, we can get a higher match from the Island Institute, allows us to do a little more, so that's good.
Yeah, so that's what I want to go over with Dennis. And I will just set up a time to talk to him to make sure that everything is in line.
Yeah, I have a question about where you're talking about this planning can get us access to like unprecedented money. Do you have more specific information on that?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's millions of dollars that ARPA, I think the state's supposed to get what, $250 million total, from a total of what's already here from the first ARPA funding, and then what's expected from the new infrastructure bill that did pass. So it's a huge, for the state of Maine, that's a huge amount of money, given that we struggled 2 years ago or 3 years ago just to get a $15 million bond passed. And that was the most money Maine ever had for helping towns with infrastructure. So, and then there's more money, that's just for infrastructure, I believe. And then there's more money for digital equity, through these connectivity programs and helping people get up to speed and have affordable broadband. So if that helps, I will, I'll make sure I get all the current figures on that. I'm sure that Susan easily could tell me what's in this pipeline for connectivity, because she sits on national boards. She follows that, of course. And I've heard, is that what you've heard, Dennis? Evan, I think it was a total of 150 now and another 100 million coming to the state for
To
250.
the connectivity authority. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's something like
yeah.
that. And then if they ever pass any more stuff in Congress, then there'll be more money as well.
And we have, we can't count on this kind of thing ever at any time. We just don't know. We've never had anything like this before. So that's the urgency, to make sure we're in line and ready for it and can be competitive.
Yeah, so we'd like to get this passed at the next select board meeting. Is that correct?
7,500.
Yeah,
I mean, if it doesn't go through the budget process, yeah, that is what we'd like to get passed.
Well, the other way around, because we're just submitting it to the budget, and then subsequently, we just want to ask for the 7,500 from the ARPA funds.
correct.
So the ARPA money is now into the budget, is that right? But if it's in the budget, then we'd have to go till June.
No. Back it up a little bit. The budget we're just putting in for the committee and for a backup if they don't want to give us 7,500 from the ARPA. So this is just saying, if we didn't get any ARPA funding, then we would want to be on the warrant.
Yeah.
And then also just what the committee is doing as a whole of what should be done for the project. But then that would all be preempted if the select board approves 7,500 from the ARPA funds.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So this saved us several months before the election. And to me, it's to have this potentially defeated by the town before we have a plan. Doesn't seem, we have to get a plan together first and then present it to the town. I mean, I realize that, but to have the possibility of the town of waiting until June for them to pass it, I don't think is really practical. And we'd like to see a commitment by the town select board to approve going ahead. So Dusty, would you be willing to make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think what we'll do, depending on what guidance you get from Dennis, yeah, I think we could present this, and then I'll move to provide the $7,500 from the ARPA funds, and if it passes, good, and if not, I don't know why it wouldn't, but
Right.
Yeah, he may want to trim the amount back. Hopefully he doesn't, but he may want to do that, and then we'd have to.
Well, what we agreed to, what we finalized today will be what we put in.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
ultimately.
Exactly.
Unless he just wants to see the contribution from the Island Institute on there, but
I wonder if
Yeah.
it might be worth spelling out on this document and changing the numbers that Evan, that you're donating your work.
Right. I just want the town to have, we want to have the number on there, and that the town's got a contribution to it. Because for right now, I'm willing to volunteer, but then in the future, like 2 years down the road, if this becomes like there needs to be more work done, which is ultimately what a lot of towns are doing, then me or somebody else way in the future, it might be a little bit of funds for it.
You
But
might
yeah.
have
I would almost keep it in there, whether Evan does it or not, just as that, because you never know what's going to come up where you might need a pot of money, and then we could ask for a budget approval on changing the budget.
Right.
It's not very much money.
What I'm suggesting is that you keep that in there, but also notate in there that really the town is being asked to put up $6,500, and Evan and the Island Institute are providing $8,500. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, definitely when we do the ask, and then we detail what the in-kind contributions would be for me doing gap analysis and any other type of volunteer work that we would all do. Yeah, we'll definitely put that in the ask for next week's ask or selectmen's meeting.
And so Carla, when you talk to Dennis, just make sure that part is clear. So if you
Okay.
Yeah.
come back, then,
Okay.
then you understand what.
So I actually, if you take this out, it's $2,500 difference.
Yeah, no, don't take anything out.
Just
I'm thinking just like a parenthetical statement that says, you know, in real numbers, the check that the town will be writing is not 7,500. It's less because some of this work is being donated, even though it's being shown on the budget as paid for. Because
okay, without being specific about it.
Evan, then we would be paying somebody to do this, but
Right.
Evan is
So, and it may get to the point we will have to pay. So I just assume keep it, you're right, keep it in there as the flexibility we have, but we think that some of it at least can be reduced by $1,000 is what you're saying.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's I was just going to add, that would be my hope, that we would come under budget to begin with. Yeah. And then if we have Dresden, Woolwich, or another community also involved, then the digital equity plan goes down, the infrastructure planning, all that stuff goes down for what the town's on the hook for. So.
And it doesn't mean that we have to spend it either. And
right, exactly.
we probably run everything through Dusty anyway of what our expenses will be.
Yeah, and everything would have to go through Dennis. I mean, you know, in terms of allocating. So,
right.
Okay, well, let me.
And I will vote to use the ARPA money. I would anticipate Terry would, and I don't see why.
I think we would. I can't imagine Kim wouldn't. She's still on the board, even though I gather she won't run again. Or I thought that's what I heard, given her new job. And I think Sarah would too. I think all of those, I think there's a lot more. Pam, I don't think has been as exposed to this, so we'd have to do more education work, or hopefully about, what we're doing and what the differences are between cable and high-speed broadband.
I predict 5-0. I predict 5-0 because she was basically asking for more information, and we've given it to her, so I think it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And if the library could help with some of the education stuff.
Yeah, that's the idea actually of doing a full digital equity plan where you have a hub at the library, and usually they do it with volunteers, but the library hosts it, or it could be the senior center hosts
or the adult ed programs that they do. And then part of that, where those are like, $20 or $40 seminars, and we would be basically covering somebody so people could do it for free there, on top of what the Digital Equity Center is doing for free classes, which is volunteers, but we would like to have guarantees that we have people there.
Yeah, I mean, there's an issue how you keep this going and staffing it, but if you can find sufficient volunteers, and that's part of why we would be participating in the planning and the experience of other communities and trying to figure out the best way to train people and stuff like that. But for now, we think it's a really good idea, and we know people need the skills for sure. So why don't I try to talk with Dennis and relay this conversation, and I mean, he's got to see this before 13th. Hopefully I can get hold of him this afternoon or tomorrow and we can go over it. And I can get back to you guys if for any reason we need to powwow again, or we can do it.
So do we want to vote to finalize, to do a couple fixes on what you've sent so far, and then that's what we're willing to put out?
You mean in terms of what the town's commitment would be for a
Well,
final
just
budget?
just the budget.
Yeah, let's vote on the final budget of $15,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, I move we approve a $15,000 budget with subsequent small edits, but the total to remain the same.
Okay,
I second the motion.
great. And I'm in favor, so that's unanimous. I don't think you vote, do you, Dusty?
No, you vote. Yeah, you vote.
What? You
No,
vote?
you.
Yeah, I voted.
Now that it's been moved and seconded, now you do a vote.
No, she was referring to you yourself vote on our thing.
No, I don't vote, no.
No, he's the liaison. No, we already approved that from the three of us.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what was your suggestion, Evan, for the second vote?
Nope, didn't have a second vote.
Oh, okay, but you're taking minutes, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I don't think we're going to need a meeting on Thursday, or tomorrow, but if for any reason we do, given the rules that you can't do this by email, you have to do it. When three of us get together, it's considered a meeting that has to be with public notice. So we can't just make changes or do this stuff by email. That's what makes it so hard when it's a tight schedule. But I think I'll try to get Dennis immediately when I can talk to him, hopefully this afternoon, run it by him, see if he has any questions, and try to determine if we need another meeting or whether we're good with what we've got to submit to the town. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Great. Thanks. And thanks, Dusty. Are you back? Are you back in Maine?
I am, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice cold. We haven't had this kind of cold for a while, actually.
Not since last winter.
Yeah. So
But yeah,
anyway,
it was a big trip, but I made it back. So that's what I was saying about not knowing we had a meeting. I had so many emails from the broadband.
I bet.
It just got lost in the list. So.
yeah.
So did you
Sorry,
drive all
no.
the way down and back?
Yes, yeah. And
That's a
then
haul.
several places in between. So
Yep.
it wasn't just down and back. It was around in circles for a little bit in Texas too.
Cool.
I forgot where you're from in Texas.
Well, North Texas and Denton is where I grew up, but
Denton, Denton.
yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
my family's from Iowa though. So we were misplanted or something and had to grow up there instead.
Yeah. Well, I think I've only been to Texas twice. And 3 times if you count driving through to Colorado and Mexico. But,
I have to leave. I'm heading
All
to.
right.
okay, good. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So I think we're good. I'll just try to turn around and get hold of Dennis immediately and get any feedback he has. And we'll let you know ASAP if there's anything off kilter or we need to talk again.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
if you could just like send me a quick email to say how the meeting with Dennis went, so I know where we stand going into the meeting, that would be good.
When's your next select board? Is it Monday? Yeah. Tuesday, I mean?
Yeah.
Tuesday. Okay, great. And yeah, okay. And could it go, if it's good, I guess it could, if he thinks it doesn't have to go through the budget, it could go on the agenda Tuesday, couldn't it? Or is that, no, you
I
need
think
public
that's just what we're
notification.
planning on anyway, right?
Yeah. It
Does
could
it have
be.
enough public? Yeah, it has public notification because you could do it by tomorrow or Thursday and get it on 2-day notice.
Yeah.
So,
End of the day, Wednesday is when I think it has to be in to get it on the agenda.
yeah, okay. All right, my next call is Dennis. So,
All righty.
okay.
All
thanks.
right. See you
Bye.
guys.
All right. Take care.